The Taxpert Tax Calculator app 2022 achieves a number of useful objectives for practicing accountants. The idea is to enable you very quickly and easily to check the tax and national insurance liability of your clients for the most recently ended tax year, 21-22, but also, as you can see on the screen, to see what the tax liability for the current tax year, 22-3, is likely to turn out to be. Now, what I've done is invite you to enter various elements of income. We've got employment income, self-employment income, property income, other non-savings income, gross interest, chargeable event gains, non-UK and UK, and dividends. And when you put those figures in, the calculator will automatically show you the tax and NI. If there are reliefs, then you can enter those. And if you've got gift aid contributions and pension contributions, you can take those into account as well. Down here, you'll see that there's a toggle for yes or no, depending on whether or not the client is of state pension age, and another toggle, aye or no, depending on whether or not the client is a Scottish taxpayer. And you can also put in the amount of child benefit claimed, because that will then enable us to show you straight away if there's any high income child benefit charge. Let me start by putting in a few figures. Suppose that the employment income, that could include pension income, which is taxed in the same way, is say 40,000. Immediately you can see the tax and the NI. If it is employment income, that would be nickable. Although, of course, if it's a pensioner, then if I toggle that box from no to yes, then that NI disappears, as we would hope. But let's put it back to yes. And we've then got the NI meant to reappear, but for reasons best known to itself, it hasn't done. Oh, that's because I didn't toggle it back to no, I left it at yes. So changing that back to no, not a state pension age, back comes the NI. Property income, you'll see that's grayed out, and that's because there is a separate tab, the property income tab, which is on the next screen, and that property income tab also reflects the restriction on finance costs that was introduced a few years ago, and it's a bit more complicated than I want to go through in this particular presentation, but that will make sure that you get the right answer for your landlord clients. Going back to the personal tax page, let's suppose we've also got interest here of say £6,000. Now that's quite an interesting figure because some of that would be covered by the personal savings allowance, and I can see that the tax on that seems to be 5,000 at 20%, which is £1,000. If instead of 40,000 of employment income, I had no employment income, but let's say down here I have got 40,000 of dividends, then interestingly, the tax on the interest is zero. And that's actually because the savings rate would apply where you've got here the first 5,000 of interest covered by that. But let me now put the employment income back in, and well, we've got dividends as well, a fairly straightforward case. We can also put in pension contributions and what have you. Now, if we're looking at 21-22, you'll see that I've calculated here that the tax liability is 18,339. The orange box beneath that is the figure that the latest HMRC calculator will get. This is assuming we're looking at a self-assessment case where the HMRC calculator at long last does seem to get the right answer in virtually, not entirely, all cases. And if there's a difference between the figure that I get, the grade 18,339, and the figure the revenue get, the orange one, then that'll be highlighted, and that would be a case where the revenue have got it wrong. What else? Well, we can also put in reliefs. So there might be either reliefs subject to restriction, that could be a trading loss, for example, or reliefs not subject to restriction, that could be overlap relief, or it could be, as it says lower down, EIS relief. But let's now move across to the 22-23 column, One thing that you can do, I've built in one or two little shortcuts. I don't want to reset all to 0. Down here, I'm going to replicate the 21-22 income. So if I do that, then it simply puts the same figures in, and we can see what the tax differences are between this year and last year. And interestingly, you're going to be £486 worse off. Now, the reason for that, I can see straight away, is that the tax on the dividends has gone up, and of course that reflects the new dividend tax rate. Also, I can see over here that the national insurance on employment income of 40,000 has gone up, so that's 3722 instead of 3651. So it reflects all of the changes that we know about for 22-23. Let me just change to a Scottish taxpayer just to illustrate the differences there. If it is a Scottish taxpayer, then I would expect the tax in both years to increase. Instead of 18,339, it goes up to 18,494. And in fact, in the following year, it'd be even worse, then they would be £541 worse off from year to year, and worse off by reference to the rest of the UK. The final thing I'll show you here is, if you want to start again, you can just, well, you can either save this, you can put in the client name and save it, or you can reset everything to 0. You sure you want to? Yes, please. And then we start again. We've also got a workings tab. So if you want to drill down, all right, I've zeroed it, but let me go back and put in some figures. Let's suppose that was the property income. Let's go back to the personal tax calculation, and let's suppose that we've got that 40,000 of salary or pension income. Let's have again 6,000 of interest, and let's have 20,000 of dividends. And we've got that figure. If I now look at the workings, I'm looking at the 22-23 workings. So I think I wanted to have the previous workings, and that I'm not getting to the right figures here. Yeah, there we've got it. So here are the workings for 21-22. And you can see there the allocation of the personal allowance, 12,570, the savings rate band, I'm afraid, wasted on the employment income, only 500 of personal savings allowance because of the total income that we've got here, and various other figures in there. But that's enough for this brief video demonstration. I hope you'll agree that this is a very useful tool that will enable you quickly and easily to calculate tax, check the revenues calculations. By the way, if it's a P800 calculation, the revenue are getting it wrong, but the self-assessment they generally get right now. And you can also over here see what the calculations would be for the 22-23 tax year. Oh, and just one final little trick I've got here. Suppose you wanted to get the same net income this year as last year. Well, click that equalize button. And what I've done is ask, what would you need in terms of dividends to get the same net income? So the dividend figure of 20,000 that we've got at the moment, to get the same net income this year as you've got last year, and it's worrying because it takes a while to run through all sorts of calculations. Fear not, we will get there in the end. What it's going to tell me is that instead of 20,000 dividend, to get the same net income, I'm hopeful that we are about to get it. It's running through a program called Solver, which is a sophisticated version of the what if scenario or the goal scenario on Excel. And I think we are nearly there, but just bear with me. Here comes the Solver window. Click OK. It does go through its cycle again. I'm pretty sure that it's because I'm recording this on Zoom that it's taking a little bit longer than normally it takes. It does take a little while to do this, but it might be worth the wait. We'll see. And there it is. So to get the same net income, your dividend would have to go up to 20,439 compared with last year's 20,000, and then you would get that same net income of 50,353. And that's it. So I think that Taxpert calculator app could be very useful.